Hello and welcome to the Wisdom for Humanity podcast. My name is James Malins, and in these podcast episodes we're going to be bringing you all of the information to help you go from your present state to your desired state where you feel the fulfillment that you truly deserve to have. Now in this episode we're going to be talking about the person inside. Now what do I mean by that? Well, when we look at the person inside, what that means is that we get rid of all of the exterior. Okay, there are a lot of people in the world who focus on what is outside of them instead of what is inside of them. They try to become somebody else in order to please people outside of them. And you see, the problem with doing that is when we focus on people outside of ourselves, we forget to have a look at who we truly are. And when we don't know who we truly are, we end up finding that there's a lot of discord in our lives. So you'll find a lot of people who are very miserable, or they're very much so on the offensive on a daily basis. So you ever got that really miserable coworker and you're always asking yourself, how can they be so miserable all the time? This can be a massive reason as to why they feel like that. Perhaps they don't even know who they are. Perhaps they're not where they want to be. And because they don't have control of their emotions, and by the way, I'm not making excuses for them, but because they don't have control of their emotions, they lash out at everybody else because they don't know who they are. So it's really important that we have a look at and see if the external information is actually overpowering what we know internally. So that's a little bit of jargon there. What I mean is our gut instincts are what very often take us in the right direction, right? You've probably all heard about following your gut and trust your gut instinct. And if you've ever read a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, a fantastic book, I recommend you read that. It's all about understanding that our internal voice, the voice that is inside of us, the fire in our belly, is what's guiding us through a lot of our lives. And you see, very, very often you find people who are not listening to that. You'll often find that people will end up making the same mistakes, and they know that they're making the same mistakes, but they just can't figure out how to stop. They keep saying to themselves, oh, well, I keep making this mistake, I don't know how to stop doing it. And often it's because they don't know who they are. They're not focusing on that internal voice. They're not focusing on that gut instinct, which means that when it comes to getting themselves out of these cycles, out of these vicious loops that keep happening to them and making them feel miserable, it's because they're not looking towards the inside. Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go to the external. I mean, you're listening to this podcast and watching it on YouTube right now, right? So this podcast is external information, but what it means is that you can take all of this with a pinch of salt. Every episode up from here with the Wisdom for Humanity podcast, every episode going up, you can take it all with a pinch of salt, because there's no obligation for you to trust or understand this information. However, your life is going to change if you choose to absorb the right information. So for instance, it might not be this episode, it could be episode 10, where we're talking about family relationships and how to deal with people, and that's the episode that revolutionizes your life. So this is the most important thing, is that we do understand that we do listen to the external, but our internal is what makes the final judgment call. Okay, so when it comes to, listening to the opinions of others, when it comes to job feedback and what people say about the work that you do, or whatever it is, you have to understand that that's all fine. I've got haters and I've got lovers. I've got people that love my content. I've got people that despise my content. They think that it's garbage. They think that I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. And that's all fine. Those people are entitled to their opinion. That's fine. But the response that I get from the people who say that I help them all out, that's what matters to me. So when we talk about this with you beautiful listeners right now, you have to understand that you make the final judgment call. What you think and what you believe and how you feel is ultimately the final decision. It's the curtain call, it's when the curtain comes down, you make the decision, and that's nobody else's business. It really isn't. It's no one else's business. You have to take responsibility for the internal stuff so that when the external comes your way, you know how to deal with it. And this is a really big part of my teaching with my clients, and the wisdom that I spread on a daily basis is that you guys make up your own decisions. And when we understand that we can make our own decisions, that totally changes our lives. Because therefore we don't have to stay in this job. If you hate your job, why stay there? Oh, well, James, I've got money, I've got mortgage to pay, I've got children to support, a husband and wife to support. I understand. Trust me, I do. I really do understand. But you can say that for the entirety of your life, all the way up until your final moments. And no one else's opinion will matter. Not mine, not my advice, nothing. The only thing that will matter is how you feel in the end. Because if you feel unfulfilled and you feel terrible and you don't feel like you're living your life the way you should be living it, then this is just for you. This is to give you the information and the tools necessary for you to change your life. Because it would be horrible for me to think that you would get to the end of your life and have regret. And working for a job for 20 years, if you don't want to do that, don't do it. Don't listen to anybody else. Don't listen to people that say you're making a mistake. You might well be. I'm not saying it's all going to be the cushiest road ever, but it's down to you. If you make a mistake, it's on you. If you fall and you stumble, it's on you, because you're going to get back up. And especially if you're following me, you're going to get back up, because I won't let you fall. There are a lot of people who are going through a terrible time. They're going through a situation where they don't know how to get out of it. They don't know how to feel better in themselves. And often they're not looking in themselves for the answers. They're trying to find it everywhere else. I've always said this story when I tell people about how I became the man that I am. And when I was a teenager, I always used to ask myself, why? Why God? Why outside of me? Why outside of me? Why outside? It was always outside of me. It was never inside. I never looked inside until one day I looked in the mirror and I just said, why not? I just looked in the mirror and I said to myself, why not me? What makes me different to any other person in this world that has been through these scenarios? Why should I have an easy life? Why should I have a break? And as soon as I changed my perspective in that manner, my whole life changed. And my whole life changed because when I looked at my situation, I realised that, hey, it's not that bad. I can change it. And from that day, my whole life changed. Everything. The way people treated me, my decisions, what I did in my life, my pursuit in life. I knew because I was dead certain in my beliefs. I was dead certain that I knew that no matter where I was going to be in life, I would make the right choices. And woe and behold, when I made those choices, the universe gave me what it is that I was after. It gave me what I needed. And there are so many of you guys right now who are listening to this and going through life and things are getting you down and you're unhappy where you are. And what you fail to see is that you have all of the power in the palm of your hand to change the world. It's been proven so many times, and we're all connected. We're all the same consciousness, just fragmented to experience ourselves in different ways. Now, that's a really tough one. Okay, I always say this, guys. When I make a statement that's a really tough one to absorb for some people, yes, it is. You see all the murder and all of the horrible things that happen in the world, then how on earth could that be me, James? How could that be me? And how can I be experiencing myself in such a horrific manner? I understand that. And it's a question and an answer and a statement on that side of things that's very difficult to answer right now. But just listen. You can look at your whole life as a miserable experience that you just wish would end and there was nothing that was going on that was pleasurable. Or you could look at life and think, okay, it's a little sucky right now. It isn't that great right now. Maybe things could be better. And I'm going to find those answers. I'm going to find how to make it better. I'm going to find how to change my life and turn it around the way that's going to make me feel fulfilled. Because again, we come full circle. It's your responsibility to do so. I'm giving you the tools. I'm not knocking you. This isn't a criticism. If any of you guys are really struggling, you're in the dark, you don't know how to get to where you want to be, this is not criticism. This is love. I'm saying this out of pure love because I want to see you get to where it is that you want to be. Why? Because you deserve it. Right? Forget about some of the bad stuff you've done in the past. We've all done bad stuff. No one's a saint. Right, we've treated people badly, we've said the wrong things, we've done the wrong actions. But what we do from this moment forwards is ultimately the most important thing that this world has to offer right now. What humanity, what every single individual human being does right now from this moment forwards is the most important thing that you could ever focus on. Why? Because it's your life. And when you improve your life, when you get your life to the place where you want it to be, you improve everyone else's as well. Your family, your friends, your loved ones, homeless people on the street who you buy a drink for or buy food for just because you feel good. And you start to see outside of yourself because the internal's all good. The reason why I can see so well on the outside of my body is because the inside has been built with foundations that are unshakable. Why? Because I've been through it. I've been through what you've been through. I've been to hell and back. I've been to the darkness. I've seen what my demons look like. Now they're on my side. You'll never see them being used, but you won't have to. Because life is about a whole new experience now. There are a lot of people that say, man up, James, all that kind of BS. And they say, I'm a man, I don't want to listen to any of this garbage, blah, 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 blah. I get that too. I grew up in an alpha male environment. I grew up in an environment where you had to be strong. But strength, well, let me ask you the question. What is strength? What is strength to you as a man or a woman? What does strength mean to you? What does it consist of? For me, it consists of being able to love and care for every single person as long as they treat you with respect. Because in that scenario, you find that when you treat people with respect, you don't judge them, you don't have opinions of them, you don't think negatively of them until you have the right information. You open up doorways that totally revolutionize people's lives. And not only people's lives, but the whole world. And we can all do that. So next on the podcast agenda, we're going to be talking about staying true to who you are. Now, what I mean by that is a lot of people, they try to pretend to be somebody else. Okay, they're so busy trying to keep up with the trends, keep up with social media. They're saying the things everyone else is saying. They're wearing the clothes everyone else is wearing. And again, that's not a bad thing. If that's genuinely who you are, you take massive pleasure out of that, you take enjoyment out of that, who am I to say any different? But there are some of you that are doing that, and you look in the mirror and you don't even know who you are. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you stand for. You don't know what you care about. You don't know what your passions are. And you see, the problem with that is when you don't know what your passions are, life starts to get real dim. Your light starts to fade. And the impact you can have, not only on yourself, but on the people around you, starts to be corrupted and obscured. And when that's the case, a lot of people start to fall out of love with what's really important. For me, it's nature, people. For me, what's important is people and the beautiful nature that we're surrounded by. Because that's love. That's love for some of the most important things in this world, which is people and nature. It is. If you think about people, it's relationships, your friends, family, your loved ones, whatever it is. Even your jobs. Most of your jobs are going to be consistent with people, right? Secondly, nature, where we're at, our homes, our livelihoods, where we're based, where we work at. All of it's so important. And when we fail to see that, and we fail to understand that we can be who we are without worrying about the opinions of others. Man, I'm telling you, in the past, I was ridiculed. I was torn apart. People laughed at me. People took the mick out of me daily. Where are they now? They're not in my life. Some of them aren't. Most of them aren't. So what does it matter? And it's all because I decided to do what was right by me. And people didn't like that. Why? Because it was a reflection of what they weren't doing. They were all trying to pretend to be somebody else and be something that they're not. Then what happened is they didn't even know who they were. They lived life in a shell of a body, and they couldn't figure out anything that was important to them. And that for me is sad, because I didn't accept no for an answer. I knew where I was going, and these people weren't going to make me feel any less than who I was. And you can all do the same, because this is what this is about. It's about looking at the person inside. And if you can find them, the him or her who's inside of you, then you can find a beauty in your life that you never thought possible. Don't look to the external before you look to the internal. Because some of the most important moments of your life and opportunities that come your way will be secured only by the reason that you are yourself, that you're authentic. I don't often use that word because I hear a lot of people saying it, but there are a lot of times when you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to think to yourself, if I hadn't have been me in this moment, this wouldn't have come my way. And here's another one for you. When you're trying to pretend to be somebody other than yourself, if you do get the opportunities, it's going to be very difficult for you. Number one, because you're going to spend a lot of energy trying to pretend to be somebody you're not on a daily basis, which is just awful. And number two, you might not be right for that place. You might not supposed to be where it is that you are right there. You're supposed to be somewhere else, but because you're pretending, because you're being fake to yourself, not to anyone else, don't take that as an insult. You're being fake to yourself. Live your life in every essence of your glory and don't accept no for an answer. In yourself. Don't accept no for an answer in yourself. Be yourself, because that will always be the most important thing. Always. I don't care. It will. If you're yourself inside of yourself, then you're just going to totally take your life to a whole new direction. And that's where a lot of discord happens. Like we said in the beginning of this episode, a lot of discord comes from people who aren't themselves. And think about the stories, right? Have you ever had family members, loved ones who have been coming to the end of their life and they're filled with regret? You ask them what's wrong, and sometimes they turn around to you and say, I've lived my life being half of who I was supposed to be. I had so many dreams and aspirations and I've not realised any of them. Think about that. You might be that person. You might be somebody when you look back over your life and you're filled with regret because you've done nothing that you were supposed to do. Your heart was telling you to go to a certain place, but you couldn't go there. I don't want you guys to be in that position. I don't want you to feel like you've wasted 20, 30, 40 years in your life. And let me tell you this, if you're 50, 60, 70 years old and you're watching this, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Because you haven't wasted any of your life. You've lived up to this moment. You've made the choices. You've learned the lessons. Now it's time for you to do what you want to do if you're not already. If you're living with regret right now, change it. Don't wait for me. Don't wait for anybody. Don't wait for yourself. Just do it. Just make sure you do it after this episode. Start after this episode. Well, James, I don't know where to begin. What do you want to do? What? Do you want to start a restaurant? Do you want to look for a new job? Do you want to be in a different place? Do you want to be a naturist? Do you want to go out there and look after plants and trees and all that kind of stuff? Then go out there and Google it. You're listening to this on your phone. You're listening to it on your iPad. You're listening to it on your computer, your laptop, whatever. Get a tab open after this episode and Google it. Ask Google for the answers. Google's a pretty damn good thing. It tells you exactly what it is that you need. That's where a lot of my information comes from. I Google it and I find what I need. And as soon as I find what I need, I act upon it. Super important. You've just come across the information necessary to change your life. Act upon it. Because if you don't, the person inside is going to forever be caged and chained down. And you're not going to be able to be somebody who's free. If you want to be the bird flying in the sky, free yourself. There are over 7 billion people in this world. And here's another thing, if you're constantly looking for love, your love life sucks, you don't feel very good where you are, you don't really know what to do, and you look at your life and you think to yourself, damn, I wish that I had somebody in my life, I wish that I had somebody there, and you're constantly pretending to be someone else and you don't really know the person inside, start with you. Don't wait for somebody to become whole. Don't wait for your, quote, other half, right? Because when people say about their other half, what they're actually doing is they're making you think that you're half of a whole, right? And that can't be the case, because if you're half of a whole, you'll never be whole. You'll never feel good. You'll never be fulfilled, because you'll never be filled, right? What is fulfillment? It's filling up your glass. It's filling up your tank, right? It's filling up your essence, your soul, your being with the right stuff to make you feel euphoria. And if you are half of yourself, you'll only ever feel and experience half of life. And if you're only ever experiencing half of life, well, that to me is really sad. Because there are so many beautiful people out there, when I ask them, what is it you want to do? They say to me, maybe I want to be a manager. A manager in my place of work, a manager where I am right now. That would be really cool. I'd like to do that. And I say to them, no, tell me what you'd really like to do. And when you see the look in their eyes, it's like the universe just comes bursting through and they're finally given permission. They've finally been asked the right question. And the answers are phenomenal. From Formula One mechanics to mediums to comic book writers, the most amazing jobs and livelihoods and passions that you could ever imagine. And yet we suppress them. Why? Because we're led to believe that we are less than who we truly are. And if you believe that and you think like that, your whole life will just be half of a whole. So listen guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to keep these around 20 minutes because I don't want to be sort of overloading you guys, and there'll be plenty of content for you to absorb, and I really appreciate every single one of you listening up to this point, getting to this point and sharing this journey with me. It's an absolute pleasure to bring wisdom for humanity to you. On a final note, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube. These will be actual video recorded episodes on YouTube. You'll be able to see them there, and if you would like to star on the podcast, don't forget, just email me at jamesmalinsofficial, that's MALINS, official, at gmail.com. Tell me why you'd like to be on, what topic you'd like to choose, and if we resonate and it resonates with the podcast, we'll get you on there. So listen guys, thank you so much. Make sure you download this. If you enjoy the episode, then let somebody else feel the love and the care from this episode as well. So the next episode will be ready for you right now, so go and check that out. And as always guys, I appreciate every single one of you. I could not do this without you. I hope this information has helped you to get to a better position in life. From my heart to yours, it's been James Malins, your wisdom guide. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next episode.